Hello Stampin' Buddies, it's Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, and it is Wednesday, February 26th, and I'm in a rainy Wisconsin. So rather than doing a card or a project tonight, like a 3D project or anything, I am going to show you kind of a storage solution that I have seen a couple of other demonstrators do. And I thought I would show you my take on it for storing my 12 by 12s when I get to a point where I've just got a couple of sheets left and I don't want to keep them in the full 12 by 12. If you cut them up, you're more likely to use them. So the demonstrators that I've seen create these little boxes have actually done them with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, and they've done them for their 6 by 6 sheets of designer series paper. I thought, why should I use a piece of cardstock when my 12 by 12 comes with this nice heavy piece of like tag board. It's like a cardstock. It's a little shiny, so it's not something we would use for a card base, but it certainly works for something like this, right? So when you've got your little scraps, or you cut down your 12 by 12s, you have a nice little place to put them. You can mark on the side, and the back is already there. Now, the one that I saw another demonstrator do, I copied it, and I'm not sure exactly where it went, but they basically took the back of the designer series paper package and they glued it on their pack. So you could do that as well if you've got 6 by 6. But I'm going to show you doing the storage solution using the 12 by 12 backing that comes with the paper. So let me grab my trimmer. And only one trimmer, not two. And let's go to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to remove the top 2 3/4 inches from this piece of 12 by 12 paper. So if let me get that out of the way. If I want 2 3/4, there's my 2. Hopefully you can see this. I think so. So there's my 2 inch, and each of these is 1/4. All right, so I'm going to 2 3/4. So 1, 2, 3/4. And I'm just going to cut this off. Now, normally I start with my cutter down at the bottom because there's a ridge here, and that's where I push my paper up toward. And I cut from the bottom going up. All right, this is garbage. I don't need it anymore. It can go in my recycle bin. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to score this on the remaining 3 sides. And I'm going to make 2 score marks. I'm going to score it at 2.5. And I'm going to go through a few times. I'm going to score it at 3. And if we're just a smidge under 3, that'll make it just a little looser. I'm going to score this at 9 inches. So let's put that arm out. I'm going to score it at 9 inches. Hopefully I wrote everything down right. We'll go maybe just a smidge past 9. And then we're going to score at 9.5. And then when we do the bottom, we're just going to go back to score at 2.5 and at 3. Okay. All right. So I am going to kind of fold these. I'm going to fold them on that 3-inch score line. And I'm gonna score this one. So you know when we score, the bump that we've pushed down by using the scoring blade, that's what I call the mountain, and that goes in the middle. So the mountain to the inside middle. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out these corners, and I want to take it to that deepest score line. So I'm going to cut it 3 inches here, and I'm going to make sure I cut off that score line as well as best I can. So I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm going to cut this off. And it doesn't have to be perfect because this is not going to be used forever and ever. Because once my paper's gone, I could put another backing on here and reuse my pocket. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So we're going to cut this in at that 3-inch score line. And we're going to cut this in at the 3-inch score line. And again, take off the score line if you can. Okay. So those are also recyclable junk. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and score, or fold rather, on those remaining score lines, which are at my 2.5. So basically, here's where we're at. So now what I want to do is I want to trim this so that I can reach in and out easily. So here you can see how I have it cut from this edge down to where this meets. So you can do that one of 2 ways, all right? You can just go ahead and take a pencil and just mark and mark, or you can measure and go down like 3 3/4 inches. So from the top, 3 3/4 inches, I can go here. So I'm going to cut from here to my 3 3/4. And I'll take it from here to 3 3/4. All right. And there's where I marked it when I was just doing it casually from the front. And it could be that my folds were not quite right. Or it could be my paper is crooked. And that might be it too, that my paper might be crooked. So let's see what I want to do. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to look kind of decent. So I guess I'm going to go down a little bit more. So then what we're going to do is from this corner to here, we're just going to cut that off, and we're going to cut that off. So this is going to go and this is going to go. All right. So I am going to lay my score line in the track, and then I'm going to lay my mark in the track on the other end. So I've got score line, mark, and I'm going to just cut that off. And hopefully it cut through. It didn't, so let's just come and do it again. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. This time I'm going to put the mark in the track and my score line in the track. And again, it doesn't have to be super perfect, just close enough. All right. So that is all the cutting we need to do. So then what I want to do is get my adhesive ready. So I can either use glue, the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue, or I can use tear and tape. Now, I did a sample. Here's a tear and tape version. So there's some stress on it because of how I had it adhered. The tear and tape is holding up really well. All right. That is my adhesive of choice for this. This is the liquid glue, which is equally as secure. So whatever is your preferred adhesive, that's what I would suggest you use. All right. So I am going to put a piece of adhesive here and here. And then I'm just going to go to that outer score line. All right. And I'm going to go across here because that shows me where I need to end for there. And again, we're going to the score line that's closest to the outer edge. And then I'm going to put adhesive on these edges on that reverse side, because this is what I'm going to have on the outside. That way there's nothing inside my pocket that's going to catch my paper. If I went like this, the paper could, when I'm trying to shove it in the packet, it could get caught on there. All right. So I'm just going to put a little tear and tape here. A little tear and tape here. And I am just going to the score line that is nearest the edge of the paper. All right. And then I like to take my bone folder and kind of burnish that tear and tape onto my paper. For me, it serves two purposes. It helps adhere it really well to my paper or cardstock or designer series paper, whatever I'm using, okay? And the second benefit is when it's adhered better, the release paper lifts off a little bit better. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool on the pokey side, and I'm going to take off these release papers. And my little pokey tool is my preferred method to do that because I don't keep long fingernails. You've probably noticed that. And it's just easier for me. So without setting this flat, I'm going to take these release papers off as well. And put my little pokey tool away. Get rid of my debris. And we're going to close this up, okay? So I'm just kind of lining it up. I want to make sure that the bases are kind of together, and it's not necessarily perfect. And you can see here where it's that corner didn't go down far enough. I should have probably gone with my instinct with where I had it measured. But it is what it is. It'll work just fine. And now what I'm doing is I'm just pushing on those tear and tape adhesive strips to make sure that they're stuck really well. All right. So something I can do, because I know with my little OCD tendencies, it's going to bother me a little bit. I'm just going to go like this. Nobody will know. All right. So I could take a piece of designer series paper and I could decorate this if I wanted, but the information I need is on the back. All right. The way I store my paper, and you could do it on both sides, I just wrote what the designer series paper was on here as well. I could put a label on here, and this is Floral Delight. So I'll have to get a pen. I should have written it down there before I put it all together because it would be easier to write than trying to write here. But that's how that's going to work. And then what I'll end up doing is these few pieces of paper now that I have left, because I have pretty much massacred this. I will trim these down to either 6x6 or 4x6, or keep my little scraps that I have here at whatever size they are, like these that are smaller. And when I do this neatly, for real, they will all be sorted by design because that's how I roll. But these will all go in here then. I'll have them cut down to the 6 inches. And, you know, I could put an extra piece, you know, that I like, something small, like here. I could cut that off of there. And that would just at a glance remind me what's in there. Excuse me. But then I'll cut these down. And what I will probably do is, oh, there's another small piece. what I will probably do is cut these down the middle at 6 inches. And then I'll cut these into 6 by 6. And then these other 2 strips, I'll go 4 and 8. So then I have basically card front sizes. All right. So, excuse me. That's what I have for tonight. Just a quick little storage solution. And then you can keep this with whatever stamps and dies it may have been bundled with. If you like this idea, give me a thumbs up. Excuse me. Share my video, like my video, whatever. And if you need to do some shopping, we've only got 2 more days of celebration left. And you've heard me talking about that now for 2 months. For every incremental purchase of $60 in product you make, you get to pick out a free item from Stampin' Up. The heart-shaped stamp set and die, which is a $120 purchase reward, was available as of this morning or earlier today. And that's been in and out of availability. So if you're looking to do a little larger order, that might be something to consider as your reward. And if you're just doing a small purchase, something under $150, if you could use this host code, that helps me get things to share with my customers and to give out, freebie little gifts. And just know that in April, Stampin' Up! Is changing the reward system. So no matter, let me take that back. With at least a $20 purchase, you will start earning rewards. And those will be kind of like your, it'll be kind of like your Stampin' Up! Cash, like Kohl's Cash, only different. So you will be able to build those up if you want to use them on a larger purchase. They will expire after 1 year, and they'll be valid for future purchases. So you won't get a cut on what you're purchasing at that time when you're earning the reward, but you'll be able to apply that to a future purchase. And again, you can build those up and use them as fits into your budget. So if you've got questions about that new reward program, let me know. You can shop with me at lorimakari.stampinup.net. That's all I have for tonight. So in the meantime, and until next time, happy stamping.